Before we begin, I would love to give a huge shout out to the Futurama man. He's a great friend of mine, and I really appreciate him for writing this episode. With that out of the way, on to the episode. Son Gohan, the half-Saiyan, half-human son of Goku. And Mark Grayson, half-Viltrumite, half-human son of Omni-Man and the... Hero. People say heroes aren't born, they are made. But, in a part, these two wouldn't be heroes without the alien blood of their powerful alien dads. Inspired to be like them and treated harshly, experiencing traumatic experiences in the battlefield of cruel ruthlessness. From their own alien races, they ended gaining a love for justice and heroism, and ended gaining determination to break their own limits, showing the potential to be the strongest with quite spirits. He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick, and it's our job to analyze their armor, weapons, and skills to find out who would win a death battle. Long ago, there was a planet known as Planet Vegeta. On this planet, there would reside the powerful Saiyan race. This race was known for their absolute thrill to fight, become stronger, invade, and conquer. However, they would work under the galactic tyrant known as Lord Frieza. At least until Frieza, aka the Emperor of the Universe, decided to blow the planet to nothing. However, they sent a Saiyan to survive the planet's destruction, sending him to the planet of Earth. It was the Saiyan raised on Earth, known as Kakarot, or more well known as Son Goku. Goku was raised in the mountains, training to be strong and learn martial arts. And as the years went on, he has learned multiple techniques, increasing his fighting capacity, and defeating powerful enemies until he defeated the evil King Piccolo, the evil Namekian who planned to rule the world. However, the evil Namekian didn't plan to die like nothing, so he ended up having a son named Piccolo Jr. and wanted him to grow up and take his vengeance and end ruling the planet. But as Goku and Piccolo grew up, they fought, and Goku ended up beating King Piccolo's son, making his whole invasion plans fail, as Piccolo would later redeem and become an ally for Goku. And Goku didn't fight alone. He had a group known as the Z Fighters, with Piccolo becoming a strategist, an essential part of the team. Goku would end up marrying with Chi-Chi, and they would have a son, and that son was called Son Gohan. This name was inspired on Goku's grandpa, named Gohan, and Gohan is half Saiyan and half human, meaning he is a hybrid having both genetics. But unlike his father, who is all passionate and loves the thrill fight, becomes stronger due to the same blood, Gohan was shy, pacific, and studious, with Chi-Chi being really strict on this because she doesn't want him to end like Goku, lacking formal education and studies via being raised on the mountains. However, the Saiyans wouldn't be totally extinguished. There were 3 other Saiyans alive: Vegeta, Nappa, and Raditz. They would come to Earth with conquering intentions and trying to make Goku join their side. And Raditz would try to convince Goku, but Goku is so noble and pure of heart and good that he obviously refused this evil intentions, which lasted in Raditz kidnapping Gohan. And obviously, Goku wasn't gonna allow Raditz to do this, so him and Piccolo went to the rescue to save Gohan. But it turns out that despite his lack of Saiyan spirit, Gohan possessed huge power and potential inside him. This is especially when he gets angry, since he managed to badly injure Raditz with a headbutt when he got mad. Kinda like the Hulk, when he gets mad, he gets stronger. In a way, yeah. However, Gohan was inexperienced with his powers and was still a young kid at that time. So it took Goku sacrifice himself to beat Raditz, with Piccolo killing both in an attack using the special beam cannon. And the fight lasted on the death of his father. Gohan felt sad at this, but Piccolo felt pity for him, so he decided to train Gohan. However, this training obviously wouldn't be pacific, as Gohan would have to go through imminent dangers and even immense beatdowns to learn how to fight. But this made Gohan feel devotion, respect, and loyalty for Piccolo, considering him like a master. And Gohan definitely didn't have a good childhood because of his father's Saiyan lineage and how Saiyans were conquerors back then, but also the multiple villains his father had to face on Earth related with him on ways. However, Goku would be resurrected thanks to the Dragon Balls and ended up beating Nappa, and after a hard fight, Vegeta was defeated too, but he became an ally like Piccolo later on, and they would end up fighting Frieza and defeating him ultimately too. But the important part of the story is where Gohan would learn why fighting is important. In the Cell Saga, this is probably the most traumatizing event going on in Gohan's life. Yeah, Cell was created as an artificial bio-android, who was designed to be the ultimate life form and achieve perfection. And this dude was a monster. He has no problem with absorbing the life force of people to become stronger and absorbing the androids 17 and 18 to become perfect and be the strongest warriors, having the cells of the Z-Fighters, the Namekians like Piccolo, and even the cells of Frieza and his father himself. And Cell was the strongest foe the Z-Fighters had faced at the time. Like Gohan had started training really hard to become a Super Saiyan, understanding power doesn't come from a desire, but a need. Thanks to his dad's training and the time chamber, managed to master the Super Saiyan 4. However, Cell was a powerful enemy, and as we said to the point, Goku gave up because he knew he couldn't beat him with his actual strength, but he had a plan. He knew Gohan would be able to defeat Cell, as he knew Gohan was that strong, so he sent Gohan to face Cell. Unfortunately for Goku, he didn't tell Gohan about his plan, and Gohan is less passionate on the thrill for fighting than Goku, so he was getting beaten up by Cell brutally in that fight. Like, bro, Cell had no chill punching a kid and crushing his bones, and even making him bleed and break his arm. However, once he saw how Cell destroyed Android 16, who was an innocent, caring for nature and life, and even giving up his thoughts on annihilating Goku, Gohan would end up unleashing his real rage after seeing how an innocent being died by the hands of the ultimate life form, and this made Gohan unleash the form, which is stronger than the ordinary Super Saiyan, his legendary potential becoming Super Saiyan 2. And after a tough battle, Gohan would face Cell, but this time Gohan would be far more ruthless, having no problem to even kill Cell if it meant winning. However, Cell would end up regurgitating Android 18 via the beatdown Gohan was giving him. This made him go back to his semi-perfect form. And Cell threatened to destroy the planet, which made Goku sacrifice himself, teleporting Cell away from the planet, which lasted on the blast, destroying King Kai's planet, ending with Goku's life. However, this wouldn't be the end. Cell would eventually regenerate and become even stronger, having the perfect form back and now going super perfect and going Earth Cell be a really powerful fighter to take down. But after an intense Kamehameha clash, Gohan, with the help of Goku in the afterlife and Vegeta, would manage to beat Cell and become the new savior of Earth. However, it took a price. Goku, knowing how he was the reason most villains came to threaten the Earth and his loved ones, decided to stay in the afterlife without resurrecting this. However, ultimately led Gohan, Chi-Chi, and his friends to live a peaceful life for 7 years. And this is the history of Teen Gohan. For this fight, we will be using Dragon Ball Z for Gohan until the Cell Saga. And we'll be using some of the movies for him because admittedly, super stuff is way beyond whatever Mark could handle. After making this sure, now we can talk about his powers and abilities due to being a Saiyan. Gohan has enhanced senses, which allows Saiyans to locate small and distant objects. By tracking their smell, and see clearly over long distances, Saiyans also evolve to remain in their physical prime for a long period of time. Their bodies remain childlike for years before they grow into adults, aging slowly after reaching their prime in order to remain young and steady for battle, since decades having a longer lifespan than humans. Gohan, as a Saiyan, also has super strength, super speed, great reflexes, great endurance, and Gohan can control Ki, which is like energy in the Dragon Ball universe. With this, Gohan can use force fields, strengthen his body, shoot Ki blasts, fill himself with aura to power up, and be stronger. And Gohan has Zenkai boosts, which allow him to become stronger after being mortally wounded. hardened in fights, and rising and evolving in power. And Gohan also knows martial arts due to being trained by Piccolo and witnessing fights from his father Goku and the other Z fighters, which allows Gohan to perform quick and fast-paced attacks during battles, which allows him to face more experienced people in combat like Frieza and Cell. Gohan also has powerful techniques such as the Masenko, which lets Gohan shoot out a beam of ki faster than the Kamehameha, but less powerful. Shoot volleys of ki with Gek Iratsu Madame, and Wild Rush Blaster, a short version of the Masenko. And the Kamehameha, a powerful beam of ki which allows Gohan to engulf the target and even vaporize them, and Gohan can even use this in one hand, as seen in his fight with Cell. And he has two forms which multiply his power exponentially. Super Saiyan, which increases it by 50 times, and Super Saiyan 2, which increases it by 100 times. As for how strong is Teen Gohan, when being angry, he injured Raditz with a headbutt, and even was able to harm Nappa while holding back. And these two Saiyans could face Piccolo, who casually destroyed the moon. Gohan could also badly defeat Vegeta in his Uzaru form, and Vegeta is strong enough to destroy an entire planet with just 2 fingers, and even have much power to shake the earth and destroy it with a Gallic gun if Goku didn't stop him. Gohan also overpowered second form Frieza, and even his third form somehow. Frieza, the same guy who blew up Planet Vegeta with just a finger in his force form. But the anime is even crazier than the manga, as Frieza survived the destruction of Planet Namek, which caused a blast so powerful it lit up the entire galaxy and can be seen in light years away. But Gohan's craziest scaling comes thanks to Garlic Jr., Cell, and Broly. Gohan grew up to be stronger than Cell Saga Goku, thanks to Super Saiyan 2. Even Akira Toriyama himself confirmed that Gohan has the greatest potential in Dragon Ball Z, and Gohan in the Cell Saga defeated Cell himself, and Cell stated he was gonna destroy the solar system with a Kamehameha. And this was confirmed thanks to the guidebooks and Cell demonstrating this in the video games. Garlic Jr. in the movies can generate an entire black hole and nearly destroyed a pocket dimension filled with stars. This is not even talking about Broly. This guy was a beast. That's right, Boomstick. He casually toyed around the Z-Fighters and beat them up like they were nothing, and Broly destroyed the entire South Galaxy with relative ease, and was even stated to be a threat to the entire universe. So this makes Gohan easily solar system to multi-solar system level in power, likely even galaxy level if we scale him to Broly. But there's not much reason to scale him to Broly. It's clear he was weaker, as in that fight, Broly dominated the Z-Fighters with ease, and Goku had to gain the energy of all the Z-Fighters there to defeat him. So it's highly unlikely to scale him to that of Broly, but his multi-solar system level scaling is easily consistent enough. As for how fast he is, Gohan scales to Goku, who flew from heaven to hell shortly after the Cell games, which covered roughly a universe at 180 quadrillion times massively faster than light. However, this was just in his base form, way slower than Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. So Gohan, thanks to power multipliers, can be hundreds of times faster than Goku into massively faster than light speeds. But Gohan isn't perfect. His explosive temper can make him act irrationally. He is typically a pacifist, avoiding to fight unless it is necessary, or to protect his loved ones, dislikes to kill his opponents unless necessary, and Gohan didn't keep training after those 7 years. However, we are basically taking Gohan's prime from the Cell Saga with his potential to the max here, so that weakness won't be too important. However, you don't need to mess with the son of Goku and the Dragon Ball Z character with the greatest potential.
Out. Just don't listen to it, alright?
All right, it is all becoming clear now, Dad. I've only got one arm, but one's all I need.
Farther away than our own planet, there would exist another planet, where the most violent races would prevail. And it was known as Planet Viltrum. In said planet, there would be a race of aliens that sorta look like humans, similar to Saiyans, being a species called the Viltrumites. Viltrum had created a perfect civilization, but it took all of their courage, determination, and strength to get there because they were brutal fighters trained for years. Not just years, literally hundreds of years. So their planet's inhabitants are really old, but they can live perfectly, way longer than other humans. To keep their planet safe, they needed survival, trained to fight, brutally raised, pretty much without love, and being teached up like Spartan warriors, fighting out against each other, with the strongest winning and surviving, and the weakest losing and dying. However, thousands of the weakest Viltrumites would fall, with the comics revealing the dead ones are in a ring made of their corpses near to the sun, to remind the strong ones how many have fallen. The Viltrumites made the perfect civilization, almost seeming futuristic, having the leader known as Argol. Argol was a really old Viltrumite who wasn't known for his strength, but his wise and leadership, being why Viltrumites followed him until his death. However, Argol would have descendants, and one of them would end up being one of the strongest Viltrumites. His name was Nolan Grayson. Viltrumites reached their full potential after removing the weak from their society. Their population was cut in half, but this made them the greatest empire in the galaxy, conquering planet after planet and searching to actually end developing their species. However, few species on the galaxy actually could end conceiving with the Viltrumite DNA until they discover the Earthlings would. Some species tried to resist their conquest, but they wouldn't last long. They sent Nolan to a mission on conquering the planet. Nolan would study the Earth, finding out their threats, and to gain the trust of others, he would end up becoming a superhero, Omni-Man! Nolan would save the world from multiple threats, becoming a member of the Guardians of the Globe, being under the vigilance of Cecil Stedman, the leader of the hero organization. Omni-Man would save a woman named Debbie, eventually falling in love with her, and both would have a son named Mark Grayson. Omni-Man would be more soft due to his time spending on Earth, and the time he spent with his family, but he was still loyal to his mission of conquering the planet, but he knew Mark was a hybrid, so he waited until he could achieve his powers. However, it was slow, as Kid Mark would have a happy childhood and aspiring to become a great hero just like his father, till he finally grew up on his teens developing his powers, and after this he finally became Mark would be trained by Omni-Man to learn how to use his powers. And he would stop criminals, even powerful supervillains and supernatural threats, till he found out being a hero is something serious, and isn't as fun and as easy as he thought it would be. He found out the truth from Omni-Man, coming from Viltrum, killing the Guardians of the Globe so no one else would interfere with his conquest, and wanting his son to join on his mission, and even telling him he considered Debbie as a pet. Those words would shatter Mark's heart. His inspiration, his hero, his father, turned out to be an evil alien conqueror, but obviously Mark wouldn't let Omni-Man conquer this planet. But after a tough and intense fight, Omni-Man would end up beating up Mark badly, and would end telling him why he cares so much for humans, if they are an inferior race. Plus, he lives way longer than humans, so what will he have in 500 years witnessing his loved ones die? And Mark answered, he'd still have his dad. And this made Omni-Man depressed, flying away for weeks until he came to the planet Thraxon, and this made Omni-Man regret his past crimes and be determined to have a new family there and become a better person and a better father to Mark too, and do anything he could to pay up for his actions and save his loved ones from danger or his threats, even going up against his own species due to how much Mark ended changing him, making Omni-Man become more human. But Mark had a very traumatic adulthood. Man, he was called to defend the Thraxons after the shit his father did to him via rival of the Viltrumites to conquer the planet, but Mark realized his father's change to become a better person and would end up facing the Viltrumite invaders. Had to deal against Angstrom, a crazy genius who could send people flying across the multiverse who threatened to kill Mark's family, facing conquest of Viltrumite, very ruthless, sadistic, and brutal, devoted and loyal to his own empire, and feared by weaker Viltrumites, and more. All this shitty experiences led to Mark deciding to be less pacific and man up, showing why he's truly invincible. Every time he gets defeated, he gets back up and fights with an invincible spirit until defeating his foes, no matter how tough the beatdown is. But this also made Mark also end up embracing his Viltrumite nature, becoming more brutal, tough, stronger, but also more ruthless and even killing his villains out of impulsiveness. This was until he had to face the final opponent, Thrag, the strongest Viltrumite leader of the Empire, known for his brutality and fiery rage in combat. Trained in all types of combat, even feared by conquest, this ended up on Invincible and Omni-Man being unable to win. But they would fight to defend the planet from the evil lord and end up destroying Viltrum in the process, and they won, but with a high price. Omni-Man would sacrifice his life, facing Thrag dying, and Invincible, now angry and determined to avenge his father, would have an epic fight with Thrag on the sun where he would win. After Thrag's defeat, in Omni-Man's last moments, he would thank his son for changing him, making him realize how Earth and people are more beautiful than he thought. This ending in Mark after 500 years to have a happy life alongside Adam and Eve, with Son becoming the new emperor of the Viltrumite Empire, changing violence with peace across the universe. And I'm not gonna lie, Wiz, this is depressing. He could have ended having everything, but the only thing he could not have alongside him after 500 years was his father. Yeah, it really hurts, Invincible. Or really had a rough adulthood, but this is what made him be really strong. Now we can get into his powers and abilities. Invincible has all the big pack in terms of physical thanks to his Viltrumite blood, and super strength, super speed, greater reflexes, super endurance, enhanced senses, and even flight. Viltrumites are also durable enough to tank basic bullets and can resist the heat of the sun for a short amount of time, and resist temperatures in space, including absolute zero. And Invincible can even fly in space and is comparable to Omni-Man, who can live in space for weeks. Viltrumite live in 500 years and still look young due to their longevity, having a way longer lifespan than humans. And Mark has a healing factor which allows him to regenerate from fatal wounds that can make him enter in a coma and severe injuries from time to time even, and regenerate from a hole made from his torso, and his intestines ripped out by conquest in like 6 days. But Viltrumites aren't totally unbeatable. If you destroy their heart or brain, they are defeated. Invincible himself is a great fighter, given how he could face brutal Viltrumites who could be stronger than him like Conquest and Thrag, even face people comparable in combat to Omni-Man, and they are great warriors with military combat experience, facing people stronger than themselves. Elves for hundreds of years, and with the smart atoms, which they can manipulate subconsciously, allow their cellular structure to recall effectively certain states of the present environment, ensuring the molecules behave normally under extreme forces or maintain in relative positions in the air, acting like impenetrable wall, even surviving intestines ripped out, holes in torsos, brutal and gory beatdowns, and they can adjust to make themselves stronger. And Mark has multiple feats, such as being the strongest of the Guardians of the Globe, including Rexplode, who could blow up an entire mansion with his blast, can throw a ship into space alongside the collision of defense, can survive hits from Dinosaurus, and his tech is way stronger than his brother Oliver, aka Omni-Kid, who can easily kill Mauler twins who can survive a meteor hitting them, and was able to leave a crater on the moon by slamming Alan the alien hard against it, and scales to Omni-Man, who likely, with the help of other Viltrumites, could push a planet closer to the sun. His fight with Conquest easily levels down the city and scales to powerful Viltrumites Thrag. 37 of them would split the planet in half. And with all his might, Mark, alongside Omni-Man, Thaddeus, and a space laser, was able to drill through and nuke the planet Viltrum, making Invincible planet level. However, there are 2 other feats we need to mention. The infamous Sun Disk, a literal giant disk which can block the sun, which was annihilated by a space laser cannon Few weapons can harm Viltrumites, and it's stated they can survive this. So this makes Invincible at most large star level, and Invincible scales to Omni-Man, who flew between galaxies under a week just to travel to planet Thraxon, making Invincible 20 billion times massively faster than light, scaling to his father in speed. But Invincible isn't perfect. His rage can make him act irrationally and usually go for the kill against his enemies. He can be impulsive. High-frequency pitched sounds can destabilize smart atoms, making Mark vulnerable and even able to die. However, we don't need to mess with the powerful son of Omni-Man, new leader of the Viltrumite Empire. After all, his fighting spirit is invincible.
What will you have after 500 years?
You, Dad. I still have you.
Alright, the combatants are set. Let's end this debate once and for all. It's time for a death battle! Who are you? I'm Invincible, leader of the Viltrumite Empire.
Invincible? You must be really strong. But I'm not sure about that. I've met stronger opponents, but what are you here exactly for?
I got a question. Are you associated with the race known as the Saiyans? And are you also related with the one called Son Goku?
Yeah, he's my father, but what makes you ask?
I heard about you Saiyans. I heard back then they did multiple acts of brutal wars, invasion, and conquest, and your race seems to be extinct, but it seems a few of them survived, and your father has put the universe in danger multiple times, putting many innocent people at risk with a desire to face powerful but also dangerous opponents. Your dad's thrill for the fight and the Saiyans are the only thing that keeps making this universe be in danger, and as the leader of the Viltrumite Empire, I won't allow peace to be disturbed by this kind of danger.
You're wrong. The Saiyan did those acts in the past, but now they are good and defend the Earth. My father is different. He raised and taught me good morals. The discipline and the need to be stronger. I won't allow you to talk that away from my dad. Just while he sacrificed his life to save us all from destruction. And he has saved the Earth many times from being destroyed. He likes to fight, sure, but he never attempted to destroy the planet. He saves people from it being destroyed.
I still can't allow more destruction, damage, and war to keep disturbing the peace from Earth. And while this guy may have good intentions, his multiple reckless decisions just for the thrill of a fight has endangered this planet to be nearly destroyed multiple times. What if he loses? What if some new threat comes and he just can't stop it? Plus, he's dead. He won't be in the right time to help.
In that case, I will help to protect this planet. While he is gone, I am training to be stronger, and I am even stronger than him. So, I can protect the planet even if he died. And we don't have evil intentions. Plus, we can resurrect him with the Dragon Balls.
I don't even know what are these Dragon Balls you're talking about. But if you're planning to resurrect him, it could be dangerous. Plus, they are real, as you say. Anyone could resurrect him. I must stop you and stop anyone from using them anymore. And after stopping you, I'm gonna stop the other living Saiyans so I can make this planet finally be in peace without any imminent threat. Plus, you still don't convince me that your father's thrill and recklessness is something selfish and could threaten this planet alongside every living being here. I won't let that happen.
Selfish? How is he even selfish? That doesn't matter. If it's a fight you want, then it's a fight you'll get.
This planet won't be for you Saiyans to conquer.
Yeah!
Just like my father, always being so difficult.
My father would solo your entire empire and even defeat your own father. Masenko! Take this! Ha!
You Saiyans can transform too?
Yeah, and in this form, I am a Super Saiyan. And I'm warning you, I am way stronger than before. So don't ever try to underestimate me right here.
Wow, he was right. He truly is much stronger. So, this is how powerful these Saiyans can be. But no, I won't give up. Not yet!
You know, to be the leader of a whole empire of superpowered beings and the protector of the universe, you're weak. Hell, I bet even your dad knows this.
Weak? You have no idea of what I had to face. I had to deal with being strong for all my life. And now, I am doing what I always do. Fight hard until I win. That's why I am invincible. And don't ever, and I mean ever, try to mess with my family! Enough! Dad! I need you, Dad! If only you could be here! I don't know how can I even stop this guy!
You claim yourself to be invincible and to protect this planet, not even the whole galaxy? You can't even carry the whole weight of the world, and you're not strong enough to protect them. You're weak!
Now what am I supposed to do? This is over. I just can't keep fighting. What can I even do to win? You can do it, Mark. Don't ever give up. You need to fight like a true Viltrumite. You think I'm not enough? How stupid! You don't ever decide what my limit is. You keep forgetting one thing. I am my father's son! You think I am not strong enough to protect this planet? Then I'll show you how strong I am. Hit me with the best you've got.
That's the same. That's the same my father would have wanted.
We're ending this here and now.
Kame! Kame! Ha! Your time is up! Viltrumite! Gohan! I'm seeing your fight with this guy in the afterlife. Now I must say, he's really strong, and I'm really proud of him. But don't ever give up. I know you can win this. Now, finish it, Gohan! I did it, Dad. And I guess the guy truly was invincible.
KO! Wow, that was a really cool fight. But wait, is this, even close, at all? I thought the general consensus was Gohan absolutely kicking Mark's ass. While admittedly this general consensus is right, the fight was way closer than we expected when we removed Dragon Ball Super's multiversal feats for Gohan out of the equation. Hell, it was a really tough fight, but Gohan had what was needed in the bag to win this fight. And this fight will cover the next few categories: strength, speed, experience, skill, and hacks. For strength, Invincible's best feat was with all his might drilling through planet Viltrum alongside Omni-Man, Thaddeus, and Space Laser, destroying it, which is impressive, but this is a level of power Gohan could already do and ended far surpassing. Yeah, blowing up a planet is already like children's play for Dragon Ball characters. Gohan could face people like Raditz and Nappa, who scaled to Piccolo, who casually busted the moon. This is not even mentioning how he scales to guys like Vegeta and Frieza, guys who can destroy planets with just their fingers. And this is not even mentioning the levels of crazy from the anime, with characters like Frieza, Garlic Jr., Super Perfect Cell. For example, Frieza in the anime surviving the destruction of planet Namek, which could do a blast that was powerful enough that it lit up the entire galaxy and was seen light years away. Garlic Jr. could generate black holes and nearly destroyed a pocket dimension filled with stars. And Cell can destroy an entire solar system. Gohan was just far stronger than Mark, as Mark had all his might to blow up a planet, while Gohan literally scales above people who can easily destroy multiple amounts of planets like they are nothing, even solar systems. But what if we include the Sun Disk? Wouldn't it be closer, Wiz? Certainly, yeah. If we scale Mark to the Space Laser cannon, which blew up the Sun Disk and Omni-Man moving a planet closer to the Sun. However, Omni-Man's feat most likely required other Viltrumites' help to be made, since we saw multiple times how Invincible and even Omni-Man needed help to lift less heavy, huge spaceships, and even with the Sun Disk scaling, Viltrumites are weak to the sun and can die on it after a long time, so Invincible ultimately wasn't strong enough. And even if we give Mark this scaling, at that point we might as well give Gohan scaling to Z-Broly, who is easily way above Invincible's level of power, as Z-Broly could casually blow up the South Galaxy, with Gohan downscaling him, surviving multiple punches from Broly. So, no matter how Gohan was the stronger, even with early Z-Saga. And speed wasn't too different either. While Mark scales Omni-Man's flight between galaxies under a week to travel from Earth, the planet Thraxon being 20 billion times massively faster than light, Base Goku is already way above this. via his flying from heaven to hell in a few seconds, and hell was compared to the size of the Dragon Ball universe, which is bigger than our own, making this flight I'd be 180 quadrillion times massively faster than light. And this was just base Goku, way slower than Super Saiyan 2 Gohan and Super Perfect Cell, making Gohan's powers multiply his power and speed exponentially, which gives Gohan a greater advantage to be hundreds of times faster than Mark. Experience is also obvious. I mean, Gohan may be a teenager, but he has fought people way more experienced, such as Frieza or Cell, who are more deadly than Invincible. But Invincible has faced way more serious, ruthless, lethal, and brutal kind of enemies. With his fighting experience in hundreds of years, plus Mark has been alive for 500 years, so Mark takes experience, but it's not like that important when Gohan's whole thing is facing more experienced guys than himself all the time. However, skill was surprisingly different. Gohan may have more versatility and techniques in combat, and he knows martial arts and has faced and defeated people skilled at it like Cell, who could fight against Goku, who is really skilled on martial arts training for practically all his life. And not even Goku thought he would have a weak spot, but because Gohan was stronger than Cell, not in terms of greater skill, that he defeated him. When Gohan faced more skilled people, he's usually defeated easily. Meanwhile, this isn't the same issue for Mark. Invincible's whole deal is facing Viltrumites who initially start stronger than him, and end up having brutal defeats and beatdowns. But the difference is when Gohan gets outlasted, he can't do much unless he is stronger, while Invincible initially starts being weak against them, and later on he gets stronger and more capable of fighting, and more he fights, and this Viltrumites have hundreds of years in experience and face stronger people than themselves all the time. So Invincible has fighting experience and being able to defeat Viltrumites with this level of experience, so skill surprisingly goes to Invincible due to him embracing his Viltrumite nature and becoming more brutal and ruthless in his fights. While Gohan is a fighter, but he doesn't love fighting as much as Goku. And the last category, hacks. It may seem even at first, but this also adds someone edging out. I mean, both do the same things: punch hard, fly fast, withstand great damage with endurance, become stronger, and have enhanced senses, is with their hybrid physiologies, alien DNA lineage. But Gohan had his key techniques he could use to power up, become stronger, strengthen his body, shoot powerful and destructive ki attacks, and his Super Saiyan forms multiplying his power exponentially. However, it all came down to the question: what's better for their power-up, the Zenkai Boost or the Smart Atoms? While Smart Atoms adjust to be stronger after beatdowns, Saiyans themselves, after being mortally wounded in battle, receive Zenkais, which increase their power to be stronger. Plus, Smart Atoms could destabilize against high-frequency pitched sounds, or be atomized with the heat of the sun, and Gohan can just scream really hard to end stunning Mark, or vaporize him in the sun with a Kamehameha. So Zenkai Boost had a direct counter to the Smart Atoms, and Gohan had the means to bypass them, and Mark's healing factor with his brain vaporized. So ultimately, Gohan had the better hacks. While Invincible was a dangerous and formidable opponent, being really lethal, brutal, skilled, determined, experienced, not willing to give up with a healing factor, Gohan's way greater raw power, strength, speed, intellect, more effective training transformations, and Zenkai multiplying his powers and more destructive techniques able to nullify Invincible's healing factor regeneration allowed him to ultimately win. Guess Mark wasn't ultimately invincible enough to potentially win. The winner is Son Gohan.